Chem family, it's me, Bana Seth, the naturopathic nurse for Kemetic Wellness Sacred Healing Center, and I'm back with another video. So today I am going to be doing episode number 2 in this wellness series about my personal wellness journey. So in this episode, I want to talk about my struggles with skin. For as long as I can remember, as a young girl, I've had issues with skin, whether it was acne or eczema or a chronic skin condition, which I'm going to be talking about in this video. I've even had problems with itching, and I think that was out of nervousness, but let me backtrack. So in my last video, if you haven't seen it, you can check it out here, which is the first episode in this series. I talked about how most of my wellness issues, my personal issues, started when I was about 11 years old. For some reason, everything started to come to a head at 11 years old. And one of those things was problems with skin. The first that I noticed was acne, actually. I started to have, I guess, kind of like preteen acne. And in my nuclear family, that was kind of odd because everybody else had great skin. My younger sister had great skin. My dad had beautiful skin. My mom had beautiful skin. So, you know, it was different for me to have this acne. But the main issue that caused a lot of discomfort for me, mainly with self-esteem, was confluent and reticulated papillomatosis. Say that 3 times fast. Abbreviated, it is CARP, okay? And no, I'm not going to show a picture actually, because I actually really hate looking at pictures of skin. I just can't stand to look at it. I couldn't stand to have the issue. I really wanted to just not be in my own skin. So what it is basically like these very dark spots that started to come up in the chest area, on my neck, like behind the ears here, and on my back. And I went to the doctor to get treated at 11, and they prescribed antibiotics. The first one they gave me was minocycline or minocycline, and it went away after taking a short course of it, and I thought that was it. And as soon as I finished taking the medication, it came right back. And I was like, okay, what is this? And that was the start of hell with this particular condition. It really, really bothered me. So that was the first medication that I was started on, and over time they kept putting me on it, and then, you know, the doctors would try different things. I went to dermatologists. They tried me on different retin A treatments that were topical. They worked, but they were very harsh. They would peel the skin off, and it would be very red and very irritated, so that was really difficult to deal with. But it never completely got rid of the condition. It was always just kind of suppressed, and it was used to kind of just treat the way it looked, but it was there underlying. Then I started taking oral and topical antifungals. The doctors misdiagnosed me. They said it was tinea versicolor, and that wasn't what I had, because once I used the antifungals, it did not work. It worked at first, and then the same thing, it just kept coming back. And I think that was, this kept happening, like taking the medications, and then It would go away for a certain period of time, and then it would come back, and then I go back to the doctor. And so the antifungals, I started on that when I was about 16, 15 or 16. And it actually, well, let me tell you what happened. The top layer of skin actually started to harden and then just flake off. This is gonna be kind of creepy unless you've been through any skin condition, because it was creepy for me. It was disgusting for me. I hated it. And I remember going to school wearing turtlenecks all the way up to here because I didn't want anyone to know what was going on with me. So that was what happened. And once the top layer of skin flaked off, it looked great again. Like, it looked like my skin. I didn't have the condition at that time. And then, as usual, after some time, it started to just come back. And I got really discouraged. So it was at about that time, maybe a year or so after that, that I went to a different dermatologist and I got a biopsy, a skin biopsy. And that was when I got the diagnosis of confluent and reticulated papillomatosis. Okay. And I was told by my doctor that there was no cure for it, that it could only be treated, which is common in the medical field. It's common that, you know, doctors pretty much tell you that anything you have can't be cured. But I was really determined to not have to deal with this for the rest of my life. So I kind of just continued on topical medications. At that point, I got it to a point where it was just suppressed. And as long as I kept taking the topical medications, the retinoid treatments, my skin looked somewhat okay. It looked okay. But it bothered me that I had to take this and I had to be, you know, dealing with the skin irritation, my skin peeling and all of that. And that I knew if I stopped taking the medication, even if I stopped taking it for a few days, the condition would start to come back. It would start to peek through. So the same medication that I used for this condition was what I was prescribed for acne. If anybody has had acne, you know that this is a common medication. There's several different types. I don't even remember all of the names because I used so many different things during this time. But it was the same medications. Now, during college, when I started taking birth control, and I was taking that for my cramps because I had horrible cramps. And I remember the first 2 months that I was in college, I just was writhing in pain and I could not take missing classes anymore. So I got on birth control. And then after maybe a few months to a year, something like that, I think in my sophomore year, I decided that I didn't want to take birth control. It was just a message that I got from, you know, my intuition that I didn't want to take anything that was going to be messing with my hormones because I felt like that would affect me later on. And then I started researching certain things about birth control medication and how it increases the risk of cancer and heart problems and all these other things. So I decided to stop taking that medication. And when I did, my acne went absolutely crazy. Like, it went absolutely crazy. I had acne that wasn't like before where it was kind of just mild, but it was just, you know, my skin wasn't as clear as I would want it to be. It was kind of mild teenage acne. But this was something totally different. I had huge bumps on my face, huge bumps, and this added to the insecurities about my skin. I felt so uncomfortable in my skin that I would not go outside of the house without makeup. That was when I started finding really heavy makeup like Dermablend that would cover up dark marks and also cover up the big bumps a little bit more. And that went on for a while, for maybe like a year and a half. And this is into my early to mid 20s, I want to say my early to mid 20s, that I was struggling with the acne, and I tried so many different things. I tried the retinoids, which I had, the topical retinoids. I tried what is that thing that was so Proactive. I tried that and it worked okay for me, but I still had the issues with the acne. I knew it was something that was coming from within, and I've heard that a lot about people who take birth control and then when they stop it, their skin goes crazy. That was my experience. And so finally I went to the dermatologist to figure out what I could get, and they put me on a medication called Accutane. And if you've ever taken Accutane, you know that this is a very, very dangerous medication. It is a synthetic version of vitamin A, and it's a very strong version of vitamin A, and it can have terrible side effects on any woman who gets pregnant while taking this medication. In fact, they are very strict about who takes the medication. You have to either sign a waiver stating that you are abstinent from sex, or that or you have to be on birth control. You have to be on some type of birth control while taking that medication, and you have to sign a waiver every single time you go to pick up this medication, because that's how dangerous it is. If you are pregnant, the risk of having a baby that has serious birth defects while you're taking this medication, it's very high. So I did take it for about 6 months, and it worked great for my skin. Worked great for my skin. My face cleared up. My skin was beautiful. Beautiful. And the condition that I had, the CARP, cleared up as well. So it worked for both. But after maybe a year or so after I stopped taking the medication, my skin, my face stayed clear, but the CARP started to come back again. And I was so frustrated. I was so frustrated and really devastated to see it come back. I was just sick of dealing with it. And I was in my mid to late 20s at this time, maybe 26, 27, something like that. It started to come back, but it wasn't as aggressive as it was before. It did not get as dark as it did before. And I would still use the topicals because I didn't want to take that medication anymore. I decided to stop it because I didn't want to take the hormonal medication, so I had an IUD, and then I heard all of these things about IUDs and how they can cause pelvic inflammatory disease, and I had a whole lot of issues with that. I'm going to talk about that in my next video in this series as well, because that's going to be on my womb wellness issues, okay? So I don't want to go too much into it in this video. So what I did was I would just use the topical retinoid creams that I had been using before, but I didn't have to use it as often. I kind of would do it maybe every few days to every week, and then I started spacing it out to maybe, you know, once every other week or something like that. I was really spacing out because I was really preparing myself to not have to deal with this condition anymore mentally. And so let me tell you what I did that changed my situation. Around that time, 27, 28, was when I started to change my diet. And I mentioned this in several of my videos. I'm not gonna go too much into exactly what I did to change my diet. There's a whole playlist on this channel, the plant-based nutrition playlist on this channel. You're gonna see all of the things that I've been doing. That's exactly what I did to get rid of this condition. What I did was a 21-day detox, vegan, plant-based detox. I got rid of 5 main things. One was drugs. I didn't want to take any over-the-counter drugs or any prescription drugs. I wasn't drinking alcohol, no caffeine, like no coffee, no meat or animal products at all, no dairy. Okay, and no processed foods. Those were the 5 things that I got rid of. No animal products, no processed foods, no alcohol, no drugs, and no coffee. And I did that for 21 days. Not only did I lose about 18 pounds during that time, a lot of things started to clear up. And I don't know when I noticed that it was not coming back, but the last time I remember ever having to take medication for this issue, I was about 27 or 28 years old. So I just turned 35 this month, so it's been several years and I have not had to take anything for it, and it's never come back. So I definitely attribute my clean eating, which started to take place in college. It was a gradual thing, and the cleaner my diet got, the less I had to deal with some of these chronic issues, including the skin. Now, another thing that I started to learn about at that time was the law of attraction, and I started thinking about what the skin represents and how I could get out of this condition mentally. I am very aware that everything starts in the mind, and every condition that we have physically starts in the spiritual plane first. It starts in the unseen before it manifests mentally, emotionally, or physically. And so I started to think about what exactly the skin represents on a spiritual level. It's the way that you show up in the world. And I realized that I was very uncomfortable in my own skin. You see that? Very uncomfortable in my own skin. I was an extremely shy, anxious, socially awkward child since as long as I could remember. So I started to do certain things to boost my self-esteem so that I could become more comfortable in my own skin. And I knew that that realization made a big difference in what I was seeing physically. Now, after I kind of cleared up this issue with the CARP at around 27 or so, I had a year later, I had another condition that came up with the skin. I realized that I had issues with skin a lot in my life. I had a lot of problems with itchiness for some reason. And when I look back at it, I think a lot of it had to do with nervousness. And there were times when I would be out in public spaces and areas where I felt very uncomfortable, and I would start to itch. And the more uncomfortable I was, the more itchy I would get. So I realized that it was like, I guess in psychology terms, they call it psychosomatic. Meaning that the issue was mental or emotional, and then it manifests physically, which is basically what I'm trying to explain to you, that everything begins in the unseen before it manifests physically. So around 28 years old, I had another issue with severe itching. And it started around April of that year, whatever that year was. I was 28 at the time. And at first I thought it was just like allergies, or I couldn't figure out what it was. But I knew that it wasn't a topical thing. I knew it wasn't a topical thing. I kept going to doctors and getting medications for the itching, which it started on my legs, and then eventually it was just my whole entire body that was itching the hell out of me. It was itching. And up until about November of that year, after having taken Benadryl almost every single day, I almost crashed my car because I almost fell asleep at the wheel. So I damaged my car because I had been taking Benadryl and I wasn't sleeping. It got so bad, you know, when I would be at work, I couldn't concentrate at work. I would be going in the bathroom to take all of my clothes off and just scratch and put lotion on just to kind of soothe it. I was so uncomfortable. It was one of the worst feelings I have ever experienced. It was so severe. And it lasted from April of that year up until November. And this is what I realized that helped me to get rid of it, because I had been trying to tell my doctors this is not something topical, it's something going on. It felt like some type of allergic reaction and I couldn't figure out what it was. Now at that time I was taking ibuprofen in high doses for my cycle because I had very painful periods. And so I would be taking the ibuprofen, 800 milligrams of it every 4 hours for however many days I was on my period, which would normally be around 6 to 8 days at that time. It's not that long anymore, but at that time it was. And so I really had this stuff in my system, and I had asked my doctors, you know, do you think that this is you know, this is something that I could be allergic to, or there could be any side effects? And they're like, no, it's harmless. It's just ibuprofen, because, you know, people tend to think that if it's something that's over the counter and it's something that everybody's taking, that is generally safe, and you can take as much of it as you want to, and that's simply not true. And what really made me figure out that that was what was causing the issue, because I was on it so often, it never occurred to me that that is what was causing it. I didn't see the connection between when I took it and the itching getting worse right after I took that medication. So I was hanging out with a friend of mine during that time, and he asked me if I had anything for a headache, because he had a really bad headache. And I was like, I have some ibuprofen. And I gave it to him, and he went to work that night, and he told me that he had this horrible itching on the top of his head, that his head felt like it was on fire. And that's when I realized it's the ibuprofen. It's the ibuprofen. And I stopped taking it. I totally stopped taking it, and I did kind of like a mini detox at that time. I just was flushing my body with water, flushing my body with water, cranberry juice. I also took activated charcoal. For those of you who are not aware, activated charcoal, what it does is it pulls toxins and poison out of the body. It's actually usually an emergency treatment. If somebody has taken too much poison, it can pull it out of the body, and you eliminate it through urination and defecation. And so I was taking that, as well as, you know, I kind of made my own home remedies at that time, and I was studying about natural medicine as well. That's in the beginning stages of when I started to learn about holistic medicine. And I started to take aloe as well, and garlic, and I just would take it constantly throughout the day. And it took me about 3 weeks, between 2 and 3 weeks, for the itching to totally stop. Give thanks. Give thanks. I remember when I finally conquered that that battle, because it lasted between April and November, and it felt like a lifetime. I mean, it was hell. It really was hell. Even putting clothes on was terrible. And by that time, I had really scarred up my skin from all of the itching. I had so much scarring, and my skin looked absolutely crazy. It took me much longer to heal those scars after the itching had stopped. But that was pretty much the last of my skin issues. Some of the other things that I did to conquer my skin issues was I changed out the products that I was using for more natural products. So I stopped using regular soap, like well, I'm not going to say any brand names. I stopped using regular soap, and I started using all natural body washes because soap was too drying for me. So I was using all natural body washes. The one that I started out using was the Shea Moisture, I think it's like a shea butter body wash. And I also started using the natural lotions. Those two things made a huge difference in how my skin felt, just using the natural body washes and the natural lotions on my skin. My skin felt a lot more hydrated, and it really calmed the itching as well. After my 21-day detox, there were a lot of foods that I never reintroduced back into my diet. And so it wasn't just a diet for me, you know, it wasn't about just losing weight. It really was about me getting healthier. So I really changed the things that I had in my house. I was not buying the regular versions of certain products, like for example pancake mix and pancake syrup. I would buy the organic versions of that, of those type of things, the packaged goods. And I started to get rid of a lot of packaged things as well. I stopped using the microwave altogether. If I needed to reheat anything, I would do it in the oven or on the stove, but mainly in the little toaster oven that you have that sits on the countertop. I got rid of the artificial sweeteners that I used to use in my food, like, I'm not going to say the names. I started to drink a lot more water. Growing up, I really hated water. And you know that water hydrates everything, including the skin. And I realized that I needed to drink more water in order to hydrate my skin and not have so many issues. The skin it's the largest organ in the body, and a lot of times we don't think of it as an organ. And when the body is overloaded with toxins, especially when it is not being eliminated through your fecal matter, okay, when you're not having as many bowel movements, it'll come out through the skin. And so I realized that I had to clean up my diet. I could not eat the way that I was eating before, where I had a lot of artificial foods, a lot of GMO foods in my diet. Everything that I did in terms of my diet, it eliminated all of my health issues. It eliminated everything. There's a video that I have on my channel called 10 Foods That Almost Ruined My Health. That's also in the plant-based nutrition playlist, so go ahead and check that out if you want to see some of the things that I eliminated and what I switched to. I've done so many videos on nutrition, so I don't want to go too deep into that in this video, but go ahead and check it out. And I actually have something very special that I'm going to be releasing very soon that details exactly what I did in terms of my diet and how I transitioned to plant-based nutrition, and also the holistic remedies that I use to heal from some of the issues that I had, including these chronic skin issues. I am so grateful at this point in my life to not have any more issues with my skin. and to not have any health issues. I'm not taking medication for anything. I don't need it. I don't have any health issues at this time in my life, and I'm extremely grateful. So I can't wait to share exactly what I did with you all. I don't want to announce anything. I don't like to announce things until they're complete. But I will announce what I have been working on very soon. It's one of the things that has kept me so busy and not able to make as many videos as I would like. So once that's complete, I'll definitely have more videos for you all. A lot of people see me now and they'll tell me that I have beautiful skin, and it feels so nice to hear it. It feels so nice to hear it. I'm used to hearing it now because it's been several years since I had issues with skin, but I mean, it still feels amazing to hear that because I know how hard I work to have nicer skin and to not have those issues. So I'll be sharing more of that with you all soon, very, very soon. So that's it for this video. I thank you all for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and like and subscribe and share the video with somebody who may need this information. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace.